So you've decided to get into web development. Awesome. But then you look around and wow, it feels like you're staring at a map with 1,000 different roads, right? It can be so overwhelming. Well, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We're going to give you a clear path, demystify what React actually is, why it's the go-to for so many developers, and this is the most important part, how you should really go about learning it.
And hey, that feeling, it is 100% real. You tell yourself, okay, today is the day. You open up your browser, ready to learn, and you are immediately hit with this wall of names. You've got Angular, Vue, Svelte, and then you start hearing about Next.js and Remix and Astro. It's a genuine maze of tools. And the biggest question is always the same. Where in the world do you even begin?
You know, this timeline really puts that explosion into perspective. Back in 2006, things were pretty straightforward with jQuery, but just look at what happens next. Around 2010, the first big frameworks show up. React lands in 2013, and since then, it's been a non-stop flood of new tools. This is where that feeling of choice paralysis comes from that so many new developers feel.
Okay, so out of that entire complicated maze, why do so many people pick React as their path forward? I promise you, it's not just hype. As we're about to see, there are some very solid, very practical reasons why React has become such a dominant force in the web development world. Let's start with maybe the most practical reason of all, getting a job. I mean, this chart tells a very clear story. When you look at the actual demand in the job market, React is just in a league of its own compared to the other big frameworks. So, the bottom line, if your goal is to become an employable web developer, learning React is a seriously smart bet.
But look, it's not just about the jobs. React has this massive ecosystem, which means you can find a tool for pretty much anything you can imagine. Plus, the community is huge, so you're never really alone when you get stuck. What's also great is that it forces you to get better at plain JavaScript, the core skill. And it's been actively developed by Meta since 2013, so it is rock solid. But it's that last point, its powerful philosophy, that's the real game changer.
See, React's power really comes from a philosophy built on two core pillars, being composable and declarative. Now, I know, those sound like fancy buzzwords, but trust me, understanding them is the key to getting why developers absolutely love working with React. So let's break them down.
First up, composable. Think about it like this. Would you rather build something amazing with a big box of Lego bricks or by trying to carve it out of a single giant block of marble? With the marble, once it's done, it's done. You can't reuse a piece of it. But Legos, they're the ultimate reusable building blocks. React lets you build your websites and apps with Legos.
And this slide just illustrates that difference perfectly. On the left, that's the block of marble approach. It's a huge 30-plus line chunk of code for navbar that you have to literally copy and paste onto every single page. Ugh. Now, look to the right. That's the Lego approach. One single, clean, reusable component. If you need to change your navbar, you change it in one place, and it updates everywhere. It's so much better.
Okay, pillar number 2 is declarative. All this means is you just describe the end result you want, and you let React figure out all the messy steps to get there. You tell it what the UI should look like, and it handles the how. It's kind of like going to a restaurant. You just say, "I'd like a table for 2, please." You don't give the host turn-by-turn directions on how to walk to the table, right? You just declare what you want and trust them to handle the details.
And wow, this makes it crystal clear. On the left, with a regular JavaScript, you are giving the browser explicit, step-by-step instructions. That's the how. You're saying, create an element, now add text to it, now give it a class, now put it on the page. On the right, with React, you're just describing the what. You're just saying, I want a header that says, hello. That's it. React handles all those boring steps for you.
Okay, so you're sold. You get the what and the why, but the how you actually learn React, this is where most people get stuck. There's this common trap, and you may have heard of it. It's called tutorial hell. And honestly, escaping it is the single most important part of your learning journey. This quote from instructor Bob Zirl just hits the nail on the head. You can't learn to code by just passively watching videos any more than you can become a tennis champion by binge-watching Wimbledon from your couch. It feels like you're being productive, but the second you open a blank code editor, your mind just goes blank. So how do you avoid that trap? Well, it's a two-way street. First, a good teacher has a responsibility to set things up in a way that actually helps you remember what you're learning. But the second part, well, that's entirely on you. It's the student's responsibility. You have to actually do the work. Every challenge, every little project, practice isn't just important, it's literally everything.
All right, so let's put this idea into practice right now and demystify the absolute core building block of React, the component. People get so intimidated by this idea, but I want to show you just how simple it is. Because at its heart, a React component is something you probably already know. It's just a JavaScript function. That's it.
And look at that. That's it. This is a complete custom React component. It's a function, we called it main content, and it returns something that looks exactly like HTML. That little bit of magic is called JSX. It just lets you write HTML-like stuff right inside your JavaScript. It's not scary. If you know how to write a basic JavaScript function, you are already most of the way there. It really is that approachable. And so that really brings us to the end. You've seen what React is. You've seen why it's such a powerful and popular tool. You get its core philosophy of building with these little Lego-like pieces, and you know the biggest trap to avoid when you start learning. So it all comes down to this one simple question. Now that you know all that, are you ready to do the work?